Dustin Hurt managed to unearth $50 million worth of gold in a spot where countless others had met only ruin and defeat. He gazed into a ravine that had crushed the dreams of miners across eras, a landscape strewn with their decayed and shattered machinery. His quest wasn't merely for precious metal. He sought a revelation. What he uncovered was far more astonishing than anyone anticipated. Lately, some rough patches have plagued my existence, but this triumph is a game changer. I can honestly say I craved a victory, and this one hits the spot perfectly. It was concealed within a caved-in passageway, sealed off for a century, demonstrating that the most valuable prizes are often protected by the deadliest perils, the terrain that resists with fury. From the outset, Dustin Hurt sensed this mining campaign was unlike any prior one. He'd wagered plenty in the past, pitting himself against brutal weather, malfunctioning gear, and the unpredictable waterways. Yet nothing matched the formidable gorge ahead. The residents dubbed it Devil's Throat, uttering the term like a hex rather than a label. This wasn't a mere depression sculpted by erosion over millennia. It pulsed with a hostile vitality. The water's relentless bellow echoed ceaselessly, a deep vibration rattling bones as it reverberated off the confined cliffs, whispering tales of those who entered and vanished forever. Folks, avoid attempting this in your backyard. Those were his final utterances before a gruesome, agonizing demise. Ancient charts marked it as a no-go area, with explorers of your jotting dire alerts in the edges. Shaky soil, perilous flows, avoid at all costs. Ironically, for someone like Dustin, such cautions served as a lure. He devoted endless seasons pursuing rumors of concealed riches, enduring backbreaking labor for meager yields. If this chasm harbored the pristine bounty hinted by elders, abandoning it wasn't an option. He laid out the stakes to his team straightforwardly. Endure this hellscape, and they'd emerge with a haul of mythic proportions. Their initial foray into the gorge was cautious, each member tense and alert. The towering barriers closed in progressively, narrowing with every advance. The footing consisted of slippery stones and shifting pebbles, primed to cause slips or severe injuries. Astonishingly, the atmosphere inside compresses acoustics, amplifying every noise tenfold. The scratch of footwear, the creak of cords, all overlaid by the savage surge and smash of the stream. It could unravel one's sanity. Crew members murmured about the previous outfit that dared this territory, hauling in colossal apparatus like enormous suction devices, only to abandon after mere weeks when a sudden deluge engulfed their setup, leaving mangled iron relics along the banks as eternal cautions. It surged unexpectedly. Check that marker. The indicator submerged now, though it was dry earlier. But Dustin forged ahead undeterred. He'd pored over diaries from prospectors nearly 100 years past, their frantic scrawls recounting how the ravine devoured souls. Those accounts might have repelled others, but they ignited his resolve. This was a test of mettle. He secured his safety rig, verified his tools twice, and dove into the fray, convinced that surviving would etch their names in lore. As they delved deeper, the gorge retaliated fiercely. Heavy machinery arrived in segments, dangled via taut lines groaning under the burden. Even robust alloy faltered here. A digger exceeding 40,000 pounds would mire instantly upon contact. Fluid conduits iced over, clogged by debris from the chilling mist. Engines faltered repeatedly as the torrent shoved dirt and fragments into mechanisms. The bedrock seemed animated, intent on entombing them. Then avalanches commenced. Initially minor pebbles bouncing off hard hats, escalating to vast cascades of debris peeling from the heights without prelude. To tame the flow slightly in the rear, we must extract those boulders and pile them to form a reservoir back there. Workers scattered in panic, abandoning implements to seek shelter as massive loads thundered down. Dustin conducted roll calls post-incident, pulse racing, bracing for casualties. Miraculously, they escaped intact each time, though the ordeal that nearly shattered their spirits struck abruptly. A primary hoist line, broad as a forearm, fractured with explosive crack resounding through the void. A colossal extractor, house-sized, careened uncontrollably like a lethal pendulum. The team petrified in that endless instant as it grazed them by mere fractions, colliding with the barrier and dangling precariously. Eyes turned to Dustin, pallid and expectant of surrender, but yielding wasn't his nature. With provisions dwindling and tools failing, most would deem the venture a flop. Yet Dustin reframed it as opportunity. He rallied the weary group and declared an audacious escalation. Not content with 2,000 ounces, they'd aim for 3,500. Stunned silence ensued. This bold pivot stemmed from sheer necessity or inspired brilliance. The ravine had evolved from obstacle to battlefield. Lingering matters demanded resolution. While the team grappled with a lofty target, Dustin's intuition fixated elsewhere. Concealed cavities lurked below the turbulent waters, mysteries veiled by the depths. He resolved to probe them, despite the hazards, summoning gear untested in such adversity. Underwater acoustic probes, sophisticated gadgets for oceanic charting and cavern salvages, valued at $50,000 apiece. Deploying them into the ferocious eddy seemed suicidal. The units were pummeled mercilessly, teetering on destruction. Yet he urged them onward, fixated on the hazy feeds materializing gradually. Goal below. Uncertain if it's truly there, but I've been fooled previously. That's the game. This ranks as my riskiest bet yet. The substrate unveiled itself, and a ripple of awe swept the squad. The imaging disclosed a chasm, an immense obscurity under the channel, a forgotten conduit diverging from the primary path, undetected till now. Remarkably, it wasn't vacant. Readings indicated compacted masses amid the wreckage, enigmatic forms hinting at ore-laden strata entombed beneath heaps of rubble and liquid. Its geometry defied nature, too linear, too exact, evidence of human excavation. Dustin consulted the faded logs anew. Entries alluded to a fabled auriferous seam buried profoundly, craving a substantial yield to stabilize us all. Dismissed as folklore for generations, deemed too perilous, too profound, too improbable, but the display before them validated it irrefutably. The volumetric diagram outlined a corridor snaking like an artery through bedrock, dotted with radiant clusters implying orm-infused crystal. Debates flared. Some decried breaching a submerged gallery as suicidal. Others gaped at the projection, grasping Dustin's vision, a windfall capable of transforming destinies. He quelled the discord decisively. No more sifting riverbed specks. They'd unearth that shaft, confronting whatever doomed its originators. The scheme bordered on madness, yet represented their sole path to glory. Ensuing days blurred into feverish construction. Metal frameworks descended to bolster fragile zones, fasteners embedded profoundly. The locale morphed from hazard to bastion, and incrementally, an aperture widened into the archaic route, a portal to antiquity, unseen by contemporaries for over a century. Exhaustion mounts, yet respite eludes. Physique and psyche wane, but persistence prevails. Upon commencing the plunge, ambience shifted. Beams pierced the gloom, chill and damp, intensifying with descent, the cavity echoing specters. Relics abounded. Oxidized lamps affixed to surfaces, fractured spades, eroded fasteners like skeletal remnants. Etched monograms adorned a panel, softened by ages, a mute chronicle of laborers lost. The descent exceeded forecasts, plummeting beyond 100 feet into the abyss. The base a slushy blend of sludge and frost. Intruders they were, concluding an aborted endeavor shrouded in enigma. Yet that shadowy lair concealed more than antiquity, hitting the jackpot. At the nadir, illumination snagged a sight halting respiration. Crystalline strands, vivid against obsidian, gleamed, initially resembling hoarfrost, but motion revealed glints of aurum, palpable particles sparkling overtly. This merited jubilation, my finest moment thus far. Optimism surges. The specialist knelt, voice trembling, a windfall of epic scale, elevating seekers to royalty. The declaration shattered the trance. A rudimentary separator was hauled in, assembled from portable supplies. Submerged to knees in frigid obscurity, they shoveled debris manually into the contraption, exhalations visible as vapor. The cadence was frenzied. Scoop, deposit, rinse, iterate. Each participant fueled by the luminous allure in the formations. Time dissolved until the inaugural yield emerged, laden, oozing ebony grit with aurum blazing at the base. 52 ounces in one cycle, equating to almost $100,000 at market rates. Exultation erupted, reverberations threatening structural integrity. Amid perils, forfeitures, and brushes with catastrophe, validation arrived. The gorge wasn't merely malediction, but opulent beyond fantasy. Fatigue yielded to exhilaration. They persisted, processing additional loads, each harvest weightier. Behold, a nugget surpassing an ounce, astonishing. For triple, grueling sunrises, operations hummed ceaselessly. The aggregate astounded, exceeding 2,000 ounces in under 3 days, approximating $4 million extracted. A marvel, though the ravine persisted in resistance. Power sources failed sequentially. Undaunted, they adapted with manual mechanisms to sustain flow. Arduous toil, yet effective. By day 4, Dustin mandated further probes. If such bounty materialized swiftly, subsurface assessment was imperative. Outcomes defied belief. The crystalline conduit extended vastly, tracing a luminous trail spanning a mile underfoot, an unbroken subterranean stream of wealth. Borings affirmed the extraordinary. Specimens teemed with pristine aurum. Experts appraised the lode at $50 million, potentially higher, one of Alaska's premier contemporary strikes. They secured the prize, but did the chasm claim ultimate victory? Engage below. Was this bounty a boon or a veiled affliction?